The Economist 2020 Democracy Index global ranking has created quite a stir and is receiving a lot of flack worldwide for its flawed methodology. Now, according to Economist 2020 Democracy Index report, India has slipped 2 positions and is placed at 53rd. Now, referring to the criticism of the rankings, political scientist Rahul Verma said that people do not know who are the experts behind this and what criteria is it calculated upon.
There has been a lot of discussions happening on these. There are also, so these rankings are of course useful for academic exercises and purposes, but in the public domain, the way these rankings are put out, there are lots of criticism. And one major reasons for this criticism is that people do not know who these experts behind the rankings are, because these are expert-based ranking. And second, what are the criteria that are being used to make such rankings? In the current ranking, the India has slipped 2 positions from 51 to 53 between 2019 and 2020. One shouldn't for academicians this matters and people look at these small differences, but for general public, governments and policy makers, these small fluctuations shouldn't make much difference, and there are reasons. One reason is that the concepts which these rankings use are very wide. So it's not just the small concept of electoral democracies, but Economist democracy rankings are made up of 5 components which has 60 questions. And these questions kind of include whether civil servants can effectively implement government policies, the freedom of press, how people can participate in elections, parties, election finance. So there are so many components that one doesn't this is not just measuring democracy, but many other things.
Even Prasar Bharati CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati had earlier criticized and questioned the rankings in a tweet. Let's take a look at the CEO Prasar Bharati tweet now. I quote, he's asked, was going through the so-called Democracy Index 2020 of the Economist Intelligence Unit, puzzling in which parallel universe Hong Kong scores over India on civil liberties. A cursory look at the methodology raises even more serious questions on why India does not score a 9+ on electoral process/pluralism. The opacity with which these indices sit in a judgment of the world's largest democracy needs to be called to question. Unquote. In fact, the report has had a legacy of criticism behind it, as analyst Peter Tasker raised similar questions on the rankings in Nikkei Asia report in 2016. In his report, Peter Tasker questions the ranking, and I quote from the article of 2016, how did the Economist Intelligence Unit come up with a scoring system that is supposedly accurate to 2 decimal places? What it did has the semblance of rigor. It asked various experts to answer 60 questions, assigned each reply a numerical value, and with the weighted average deciding the ranking. Who are these experts? Nobody knows. Wikipedia dryly notes that the report does not reveal their number, nationality, credentials, or even field of expertise. Unquote. In other news, Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Jawdekar